Hey guys, I thought I'd take a closer look at a couple of the items I picked up recently. One is this Olsen video camera, but when I took the lens off, I found a slight problem, which is it's empty. So I'll save the lens because I think it'll fit on the other, the Sony black and white camera, but basically I've got a nice aluminum box. Now the other thing I wanted to take a look at is the portable, I use that term loosely, portable Admiral TV. I want to take the back off and take a look inside and test the picture tube, because if that's bad, I don't know if I can find a replacement for it. To get the back off, I have to remove a few fasteners. There's a hex machine screw here and a couple flat-bladed screw up here, and then there's this interlock. This is the power cord, and there's the plug is actually integral to the back, and there'll be a couple prongs on the other side, and it's actually going into the chassis, so you have to kind of pop this loose. Okay, so what have we got here? There's the AC interlock I mentioned. This is a transformerless set, so that power that comes in gets rectified directly by these two huge orange selenium rectifiers. They also double it, so you get around 250 volts DC, I imagine. There's 3 electrolytic filter can capacitors. I'll be replacing the selenium with some modern silicon diodes. I'll probably just leave these in for looks, but I'll bypass them. And I'll have to replace these electrolytics. Not sure what that little green blobby thing is, but I know somewhere in here there's a fusistor. Oh, that's probably this guy. That's gives you some protection that if something goes bad, like these electrolytics short out, that the whole set won't go up in smoke. That resistor will serve to limit the current. That tube's probably bad. It's a horizontal output tube. There's a brown spot on the side. Not exactly uncommon, because this gets driven pretty hard. And inside of this metal box here will be the flyback transformer. Maybe there's a damper tube in there too. A couple more tubes up there. It's probably vertical output. And one of these transformers will be the vertical output transformer. So here's the CRT and the yoke. Awfully dirty. Doesn't look like it's broken or lost its vacuum. That's a good sign so far. There's a label down there. It says Admiral, so this could very well be the original picture tube. More tubes down in here. Overall, it looks to be in pretty good shape. I don't see any blown apart capacitors or resistors or anything. Other than that one tube, I don't see any others that are visibly damaged. Of course, it's dirty. There's a tuner up here. Alright, so I'm going to check this picture tube. I don't see a number on it anywhere, so I'm going to have to pull out that rider's manual that I picked up when I got this TV that should have the CRT model number in it. Oh, wait a minute. There's a tube chart on this side. Maybe it's listed over here. Picture tube V3. Yeah, there it is. It's a 17BZP4. Alright. That'll save me some time. I'm going to pull out my Suncor CR70 to test this. Well, unfortunately, I will not be testing it with my CR70. As you can see here, the 17BZP4 takes the number 4 adapter. Well, which one do you suppose I don't have? Where it would be right here, I actually have a duplicate 5, and I do not have the number 4 adapter. So much for that. I do have another tester, an older, cruder one, B&K, I think it's a 440. I think it might be on the back porch. Anyways, I'll dig that out and hopefully that has the right adapter. Huh. You can tell this was out in the cold. Look at all that condensation on the meter face. Jeez. Alright. So I've got it hooked up. And first I'm going to check for any shorts. Filament's glowing. Always a good first sign. So I need to watch these neon lights. Got a little chart over here. Good should be off, half on, half on. Huh, lighting up already. So G1 is good, and it usually takes a little bit longer for G2 to kick in my experience. And there it's slowly coming to life. Of course, this set might not have been turned on several decades. It's a 1958 set. Alright, so that's good. No shorts. And the all-important emission. I can already tell the emission's fine. When a CRT has been used for a long time, quite often it'll read in the bad, and maybe after running it a few hours it'll start creeping up into the good, but geez, this is measuring good right away. Let's see, there's a cutoff test. The idea here is you actually vary the grid potential, which should simulate the video signal where some areas is going to be dark and light and so on. So the idea here is you rotate this to the cutoff line here, and it should be in this good range. So yeah, it's working just fine. As I rotate this control, it's very responsive. And there's the cutoff, and we'll get the good range. Now, one more test is the life test. The idea here is when you push this life test, it cuts the filament voltage down, I think like to half or a third of the normal value. And you watch this needle. If it barely moves or stays solid, that means you got a lot of life left on the tube. If it starts nosediving right away, very little life left on the tube. So here goes. Pushing it now. That's not so hot, but then again, I've only had this tube running for a couple minutes. I'll let it go maybe half an hour and then do that life test again. It's been about half an hour, so I'm going to try that life test again. Here goes. Still not so hot. That needle's really dropping quite a bit. But it does have good emission, so certainly if I restore this, I should have a watchable picture. And there's always the restore function, but I really am not so crazy about this because this is a pretty early CRT tester, and the rejuvenate feature is kind of crude. I'd much rather use the Suncor, but I don't have the right adapter. But I know other guys that have a Suncor, and maybe they'd be willing to let me borrow theirs, just the adapter. Or maybe somebody would be willing to sell me one. The last thing I want to check is what's inside this metal box. That's they got the flyback in there, which is driven by this horizontal output tube, which looks like it's pretty fried. If the flyback is shot, that could be a little bit tricky to replace. So I'll keep my fingers crossed. Well, that doesn't look so good. Somebody has wrapped a bunch of electrical tape around the flyback and the bottom of this box, and I can see that there's a lot of cracks in the flyback coating. So my guess is that it was shorting out, and instead of using the proper high voltage insulating material, they just used half a roll of electrical tape, which of course is all nasty and gooey and all over the place now. Huh. Doesn't mean the flyback's bad, but it's going to take a little while to determine if it's good or bad. So it's such a mess. So I'll have to carefully remove all this electrical tape, and then I can get an ohm meter and check the resistance on the winding, and I do have a flyback tester that can check for any shorted turns in it. And as far as repairing the cracked insulation, a couple ways I know of to do it. One is to use something, let's see, a bottle here somewhere, called Corona Dope, which is a high voltage sealer. It's kind of like clear nail polish, I suppose. You kind of paint it on with a little brush. Another thing you can do is get some kind of like RTV or silicone type cement. I've seen some guys online try it. I haven't personally, but I guess there are some brands that'll hold up to the high voltage pretty well and do a nice job of sealing that. And a third way would be to use wax, but that's more for the older types where they did use like a beeswax. This I think is some type of plastic polymer type material that's just cracked with heat and age. Well, I think that's it for now. I just wanted to get a quick look at this. Now I'm going to continue on with restoring the Philco 60 radio.